Adding logging to a Maven Java project.
The Midnight Coder.
In this video, we're going to add logging to our Maven Java project. I've separated it out into its own topic because reviewing Lombok is going to take 2 or 3 videos to do it justice. So without any further ado, let's get going with logging. Before we jump into Intellij, let's talk about the features you expect from any logging framework and which logging framework we're going to use tonight. You want your logger to be asynchronous and a lower priority than the code that's being logged. You don't want your logger to take away from the performance of the main code. This immediately disqualifies Printline as a logging framework. Messages should be annotated with the time and thread information. If there's an issue, you want to look at the same thread as the issue to start with. Optionally, you want to include a stack trace. Stack trace is very useful if there's an error. But if you have just a informational message, you probably don't want to include a stack trace. You want to have a hierarchy of messages so you can control the level of logging and its verbosity inside production compared to a staging environment or debugging on your own machine. Also, you want to control the destination of your log. You don't have to just output to the file system or your console. You could log to a database or to a port on another machine. You also want to have date and size management of your logs, such as after 10 terabytes of logs, you want to delete the oldest logs before your current logs. As for logging frameworks available to use with Java, I'm going to start by talking about Java util logging. It has all the basic functionality you want from a logger, but it's hard to customize. It also hasn't been updated in a long time. I think since version 6 or 7 of Java, I believe 7. Probably because these days it's easy to add a third-party component such as Log4j. Log4j, another fine Apache product, has all the features of Java util logging plus more. In particular, it's easy to customize. Then we have simple logging facade. It's a facade, which means you put whatever framework you want underneath it and use a common API. That way, when you want to replace which logger you use, you can switch it out and it doesn't change any of your product code. All right. Log back. Notice that I've changed progression from Log4j. It's a little lighter outside. I've even finished in particular, it's supported simple logging facade for Java. That's because it's the next day. Natively. I wanted to check out some things with Log4j. And from there we went to Log4j 2, which is what we're going to use today. It was late. I had to call it a night. Even the tiny log needs to call it a night. Is a logging framework I saw today on the web. Intellij now. Check it out. I've decided that we'll also supports multiple platforms such as the facade. Android. You want to wrap any third-party code or often components you use so that you can swap them out without disrupting your main project. That's why I love dependency injection so much and why we'll be covering it in a future video or 2 or 10 later on. In a previous video, I mentioned that you always want to have a reason for a dependency. And if you just add things in spec, you're just creating noise for something you may or may not need in the future. Remember, in Agile, we always implement what's needed and not what we think might be needed in the future. This allows us to pivot more quickly. Now, if I go to try and resolve logger right now, it's suggesting Java utility logger. That's not what we want. It's better to work from right to left. You're going to have your implementations on the right, and usually interfaces on the left. Also on the right, it's going to be more specific. And then when you go have those resolved, it will put restrictions on what your automatic import resolution will use on the left. So right now, I'm going to try and import this, and you see it's not even giving me the option. Well, let's go to the POM file and import Log4j. When I went to check out Log4j last night, the first thing I did was try and do a search for Log4j to Maven dependency. And it brought up a whole bunch of stuff. See, so I decided that I should read up more about Log4j's direct implementation. Found this article and notice the Log4j functionality is split between modules. So I'm going to grab those dependencies. There's other dependencies that are part for Log4j too, but we'll add them if we need them later. So now this is not the most current version. It was the version available when the person who wrote that article wrote the article. So we have two choices. We can look them up via the dependency. So I could look up log4j-core, or I could look for the actual class dependency name, like log4j core is better for finding out versions, but in terms of understanding the implementation, or if you have some dependencies but you're still missing certain classes, it's better to use the class. And that was interesting when I was looking at this last night. So let's do log manager dependency Maven, and the first link with Maven repository brought me here. And there you can see it's way back to early versions of Maven. And let's go back to this and see what's going on. Yeah, when they were refactoring things, we moved from Log4j to Log4j core. So I can click this and say, oh, a couple of important things here. One, as vulnerabilities were discovered, they were also back checked on earlier versions. That's why the numbers are so high on these early versions, because they have every vulnerability that's ever been discovered with the code. Whereas the last vulnerability discovered was in December 18th, 2021. I think I was working with Log4j at that time and remember that happening. Well, if you have a facade like the simple logging facade on, and you have to drop Log4j or change to a new version where things may be refactored, it's not going to cause you chaos. So now let's grab the latest version. The latest stable version is 2.22, and that would be what I would import if I was working on a project for someone. But as we are doing a demo, let's use the latest version. Keep us on the bleeding edge of technology. And we'll go back to our POM and place the version here and here. This is an excellent time to look more into our POM. what I want to do is replace these two locations in my palm with a constant. So I'm going to go to my properties and I'm going to say Log4j dot version and grab this string, put it in here, and this will become $, open close paren, and yeah. Oh, we actually want this string. Voila. Now, if we have multiple, even if we have one dependency, we don't have to search through our entire code base to find it. See, it was just one character off on that selection. Cool. Now we can go to our app class here, and now we can import these guys. Did I reload my home file? No. So we'll go Maven, reload project. Okay. So now I can import this. So we're going to re-enable these lines by selecting them all and doing Control/. Yay, they're all re-enabled. Going to run. And what we're going to find is only the error shows up. Why is that? Because we haven't done any Log4j configuration. So I'm going to go to another project of mine, and I'm going to copy this file and paste it in here, my resources. And we will see now it should log the info in the warning as well. So I'm going to run this app file again. Cool. Now we see the info error log. Now, if we wanted to have debug and trace, we'd have to change that level. And I'd like to have full logging in my tests. So let's go to app test and run it here. Well, we find that if I run this, I still only get info. That's because it's using this configuration. There's no separate configuration for tests. And all we have to do to fix that is copy this file, paste it in here, and we have a Log4j configuration file for tests. And we just change this to all the way down to trace. Actually, let's just do to debug. And going back here, and if I run this is not a proper test, but again, as I've mentioned before, I don't believe in testing things that are infrastructure or well-proven third-party applications. If there's an error with one of those that's not known, I'll find it and probably have to do more significant debugging than a unit test to really qualify it and report it. Sip of coffee, which is important at this time. You'll notice that we now have a debug level logging, not the trace. And so we're good to go with Log4j. Now I want to switch to the simple logging facade for Java. And so I'll need that dependency. Let's go to SLF4J and dependency. Oh, I didn't include the Maven. We'll figure it out. Yes. And let's go here. And we can see alpha. I don't really want to use an alpha. Let's go up and see what's going on at this level. Let's do a proper search for SLF4J, and then I do API, which I think is the actual name of the dependency. Cool. And here you can see there's an alpha version. We don't want the alpha version. It's a little, alphas are a little too rough for us at this point. So I'm going to copy this dependency, go to my Maven file. Oops, I did this in the wrong order. You could catch me on that. I want to take out this log4j and put in why I need this dependency first. Oh, look, I can't import this yet. And notice I have main class here. We'll talk about this a little bit later. And I'll take out these dependencies and go to my Palm file. And I'm going to leave the log4j in there because that's my actual implementation. But now I'm going to bring our facade in. Love that word, facade. Reload project. I have my key promoter on to remind me to be using shortcuts. And now I can import this. And the facade one. Now, I copied and pasted this line, and my main class is called app. If we were to get the exact same functionality, we would want to have app class here. And import. Well, there's several things wrong here, and it's quite a mess actually. So let's take this a little bit at a time. We have these errors and a warning, and they're all related to the fact that we have a static method on main that's referencing an instance method. So let's start with that. And also if we go here, we have this is marked as could be final. So let's just make this static final. Now we should be able to reference it here. And then we'll go, oh no, the info method. Why the heck can't it resolve that? Well, it took me a bit to figure that out, but these are the wrong imports. We're really trying to make this hook up for the log4j. And I should have realized this because we were only importing our, I just put that back to comment it out. I just added that to resolve the problem. But you will notice that we just importing the API. How does this actually hook the Log4j into the facade? So there we have the Log4j dependency, which is log4j to the simple logging facade implementation. And that's got to match the version up with the other parts of the log4j. So let's reload this Maven file. Boom. Go here to main. And now re-import this. And we'll notice that it's now giving us a different import. And we can import this class. Oh. Be a third time's the charm. With these all resolved, should be able to run main. And here we go. There's going to be another problem. I'll show you. Oop. And we find this set of messages. No providers found for simple logging facade. No operation not logger implementation. And then we have that the simple logging facade binding target API version 1.7.x or earlier. Oh, that kind of makes sense. Remember we talked about Log4j 2 and later has the simple logging facade native. Well, we're going to go to the web and look up this error, and which you can see I already did. And we go look the error codes, and we find it says that for version 2.x, use the service loader earlier, a lot of stuff. And I actually just, it was enough to give me a hint that I thought before doing a lot more reading, I would just take out the API so that there was only one service, simple logging facade in the POM, reference in the POM, and do a Maven reload. I'm going to rerun this again. Voila, that's working. Now we'll go to the test, make sure that test still works, and we need to paste that in and take this guy out, and we can see those imports are no longer referenced. And then the fact that we're respecting the Log4j configuration means this is correct. Notice that when I copy paste, I haven't changed this, which also reminds me that I should refactor the test to match the name of the file it's associated with. So we'll call this main test. And this should be main test here. Voila. And we're done with the integration of Log4j with our application or project, I should say, because it's really a library that I'm working on here. Now, until we have this in GitHub, I'm going to paste the configuration and the dependencies into the comments for the video, so you'll have it there. So, now I haven't sanitized the video to remove the little bumps that we encountered on the way. I don't think that most of the videos you will see are realistic. They show, oh, I just cut and paste this here and wow, it works. Maybe they show you a few things, oh, I forgot to type this, but they don't actually portray what it's like doing something for the first time or something you haven't done in a while, how you might encounter little bumps. And development is a lot about dealing with the bumps that you encounter, and doing the little bumps helps you resolve the big bumps when they come along. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel.